There are a ton of questions about this shoe. For example, do you know what sustainable canvas is? I didn't until I checked this shoe out. Do you know what ties this shoe together with the Space Hippies from just a few weeks ago, and also the VaporMax 2020s? I do, because I've done videos about those shoes, and here I'm doing a video about this shoe today. Do you know how much of this shoe is sustainable and recycled and all of that kind of stuff? That's all the stuff that we're going to get into, plus on top of that, we're going to look at all the important details on the design and the branding of this shoe. And it's not a bad shoe. I'm usually pretty critical of the Zoom line when they tie it up with something else. I think it was like the Rage Green, I think they were called, the last shoe that I looked at that was from the Zoom line, tying it up with the Air Jordan 1s in particular. And you know, it wasn't a bad shoe, but usually, you know, it's not my thing. But this one's got that little bit extra with that recycle, that sustainability, that whole sort of like taking care of the earth and ecology going on in it as well. So there's more to this shoe than meets the eye, and I'm going to take you through all of that today as we take a close-up look at the Nike Air Jordan Zoom 1 Wolf Grey. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi Absuno de Mainichi Mitiko Design. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews every single day. We're on day, we must be close to day 600. I haven't checked for a while to see what day we're on, but we're pretty close to the 600th consecutive day on YouTube without missing a single day. So really trucking the content out and keep it on. And today we've got a great shoe to look at. And I say that at the start of every video about upcoming sneaker releases and all that kind of stuff. And for this shoe, it's actually a bit strange for me because I was just looking around. I checked out Hype Beast Japan, Hype Beast, Sneaker Dunk Japan, Soul Supplier, Soul Collector, Sneaker News, and Kicks on Fire, and I couldn't find a shoe. I couldn't find a single shoe that I wanted to talk about today that was coming out, you know, in the next couple of days or next week or so. There were a couple in there I was kind of like, maybe, but but then I saw this as it was a news item on one of the sites, and I thought, well, that's interesting. Checked out the drop date. It's August the 12th, which is a bit far away from where I am right now. I think this video is probably going to drop on something like the 26th or 27th of July, so we're way over 2 weeks in advance, which is a bit long, to be honest. But it does tie back to those Space Hippies that we were talking about, and they are a recent shoe, a couple of weeks ago, and then also the VaporMax 2020s about a week ago. So there is a sort of like pattern developing there with this recycle, sustainable kind of shoe technology that's going on. So it kind of makes sense to do this shoe, but still, like I said, it's a little bit earlier than I normally do these kind of shoes. Speaking of those Space Hippies, let's put up the ones. I'll just put the ones up. There were three in particular, the Space Hippies 01, 02, and 03, and I think the original drop had, was it a bluish looking swoosh on the side or an orange looking swoosh on the side, and then these guys came with a kind of Volt green looking swoosh as the second sort of batch. Now they're the kind of core like recyclable shoe. I think they talk about something like 80%, 80 or 90% of that shoe, including the outsole, the midsole, the flying it upper, everything about it. They're trying to do their best to make it as recyclable as possible. So that's kind of like the core, and then off of that they're spinning these shoes, those VaporMax 2020s, these, you know, Air Jordan 1s, Air Jordan 1 Zooms. So the sort of, I don't know, the center of the Nike recycling universe is these Space Hippies right here. But like I said, those VaporMax 2020s as well, there's two of them that we've looked at recently, the Pure Platinums, which are a very clean shoe, my preferred colorway of the two colorways we've looked at, except for that medial side that's missing, the swoosh, very important as far as that shoe is concerned, especially in design sort of elements. The lesser of the two colorways that I've looked at was the Smoke Grey, I think they were called, which do have the swoosh on the side, but I don't particularly like the colorway, a bit too dull. But a lot of that kind of technology, that recycled technology in those shoes as well. And then here we are with the Jordan 1 following suit, and particularly what we're looking at is the outsole midsole sort of thing going on here. So we'll look at that first, and then we'll get into the upper, and then we'll get into the details as far as branding and design go. So following through on that midsole, outsole, what you'll be able to see as we kind of run the length of the shoe is that the midsole is a lighter color than the outsole. However, both of them have that kind of speckled effect in it, and what that speckled effect is off cuts of rubber that would have gone straight into the trash, but instead they've retrieved them found a way to put it into their midsoles and outsoles without losing any performance, and that way they're sort of saving a little bit of what would have gone to waste and trash and then putting it into a shoe. I think they call it grind technology, grind rubber, because it's the grinds, the off grinds of previous shoes or that they're using to sort of put into the latest shoe, and that gives you that recycle effect on the sort of lower half of the shoe. Then if we come up from that and get onto the upper of the shoe, it's very, very grey. It's the wolf grey sneaker, so of course it's very, very grey, but it's a deep grey, it's not a light grey or black. Basically only two colours going on up here, and we'll get into all that detailing in a minute, but first let's talk about that sustainable canvas. I honestly had to research this, I'm not kidding. It's part of why I have a channel, is because it gives me that sort of impetus to look at shoes and learn more about shoes. One of the things I love to do. In fact, it's in the about section of my videos of my channel, and it's always been there that I want to learn through having a channel. And today it was learning about canvas, not just sustainable canvas, but canvas itself, because when it said sustainable canvas, I was like, well, what is canvas itself? You know, if it's sustainable canvas, you know, like usually when I hear the word sustainable, I think of things like trees, like Christmas trees, that when they chop down one tree, they plant another, so that they're keeping the balance in nature, where whatever they've taken out, they've put something back in. One tree out, plant another one tree back in, so they're sustainable trees. And that's what I would have thought about. So I was thinking, canvas, how can canvas be sustainable? Turns out that canvas is mostly based in cotton, used to be based in hemp back in the day, but now it's mostly based in cotton. So I guess what they're talking about is somehow making sure that, you know, when they harvest the cotton, that, I don't know, they're keeping balance in nature so that they get that sustainable canvas going on the upper half of the shoe. Either way, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that shoes and business are kind of paying attention to this. We all know that they're only doing it for the money. I mean, let's be honest, they're not doing it because they, you know, they've suddenly had a sort of crisis of conscience and they're deciding to do this. No. There's enough customers out there that will A, buy the shoes, and B, be angry if they don't have the option to buy sustainable shoes. And that's all it is. It's bottom line, it's the money. It's got nothing to do with anything else as far as the brands are concerned, but the consumers want it, and that's a good thing. And then now there's that, I call it a critical mass. There's enough people who want something for it then to actually happen, enough demand for them to actually supply it. And what they're supplying is sustainable shoes, and that's a good thing. I talked in the video about the Space Hippies about going to visit the Coca-Cola factory here in Japan, where the uniforms that the people wear are made from recycled glass bottles, those classic Coca-Cola glass bottles. They found a way to recycle them into very soft fabrics, which is absolutely incredible. It's amazing what we can do these days to sort of lessen our impact on the planet. The soles of these guys, both midsole and outsole, and the upper of these guys are part of that. So that's a good thing. I don't know why they put it on a Zoom Jordan 1 instead of just a regular Jordan 1, but that's their choice. Because it's on a Zoom Jordan 1, that means there's a little tag on the side that says Zoom on there to give you that kind of definition between an Nike Air Jordan and a Nike Zoom Jordan 1. And also if we go up onto the top, onto the tongues, you'll see there as well, it says Nike Zoom instead of Nike Air as it would on a regular, can we say, Jordan 1. And also if we stay up on that tongue there, now that we're moving into the second part of the video, which is more about the branding and the detailing on these guys, you can see up there on the tongue, you've got that branding Nike Zoom, but underneath it you've got a very jagged red line which gives a bit of colour to what is basically a very dark shoe, and that's kind of like oversized stitching. It's only a design element up on the tongue, and we'll get back to the tongues in a minute, but I want to follow that jagged edge all the way back down to the heel cup at the back of the shoe, and you can see that it's got a bit of definition, a bit of contrast, because that oversized stitching and that red runs all the way around, which gives this shoe a bit of colour, because otherwise it would be very, very dark and very dull. Speaking of being dark, let's go up higher than that sort of oversized stitching to the sort of ankle element, where you'll see the wings on the side, and the wings themselves are in a very dark grey or black, and then embossed on that in the same colour as the wings logo. So again, no contrast there, very deep and dark. And then when you come forward a little bit from that, you'll see that the lacing system is mostly in the same material, in the same colours, except when you get down to the quarter line, you can see right at the front of the shoe it's actually the wolf grey rather than that dark sort of colour that they've gone with the other half of the lacing system. So in terms of sort of design and branding and all that kind of stuff, that's the main elements of the upper. The last thing sort of to look at is this right here, and it smacks of off-white, to be honest, even though off-white has nothing to do with the shoe. But what you're looking at there is A, that the tongue itself has got that unfinished feel to it, so you can see into the tongue, but B, the top line as well. That's unusual on a shoe. You see it a lot on the tongues where they don't finish the tongue, and you can see the sort of foam kind of poking out from from within, but I've never really seen it, to be honest. I've looked at a lot of shoes. I mean, they might have done it, and I haven't seen it, but I've never seen it where they do it on the top line as well and around sort of the upper part of the shoe, which would usually be stitched closed. I don't know what that's going to do for sustainability, because it feels like it's going to fall apart pretty quickly and you'll have to go buy yourself another pair of shoes. But also you can really see it on that sort of tongue holder where you thread the laces through to hold the tongue in place, and you can see that kind of unfinished effect on there. So so pulling back out and having a look at the whole shoe as a oneer, you know, it's a really nice looking shoe, really nice colorway. Like I said, you've got that kind of rippled effect that comes through from the speckles in the midsole and the outsole that come into that wolf grey on the upper. It's a solid shoe, but you know what, I'm just still not a fan of the zoom on Air Jordan 1s. You know, maybe it's a performance thing and it's a step up from Air. I don't know, I mean, but it feels wrong. Why just make a whole new shoe instead of taking an old shoe and sort of like twisting it into something that it wasn't? So so I'm just a little bit on this shoe, but you know what, the heart's in the right place. They're trying to help us you know, make sustainable sneakers and make sure that these shoes have make sure that these shoes have less of a footprint on the planet, and that's a good thing. So I suppose from that point of view, it's a plus. Okay, that's me for today. Thank you very much for checking out the content. I've been trying my best to keep it a couple of days in advance these days. I've got 2 sneaker videos sort of logged and ready to go instead of 1, which gives me a bit of a buffer. And in 2 days' time, I'm going to be taking a day trip with the family. So if I miss a video that day, I'll have 1 in the locker to sort of just drop and keep these consecutive daily drops going. So thanks for checking out the content. Truly appreciate it. And you know what? I do this every single day, and that means that you'll see me tomorrow.